Alright, so thought I'd give you an update. Quite a productive week and weekend. I had the week off last week, so yeah. Gonna try and use this tripod this time because I'm aware that the camera work was pretty awful on the first go. So as you can see, I've got the engine kind of semi-mounted, so I'll take you over how I've done that. So I started off by making a dolly. Get the engine roughly in the position that I want. I've levelled it to the car and levelled the engine like front and back to the way it would sit in a Honda. I don't think that's that important, a couple of degrees either way. I don't think it matters in that direction. But yeah, I wanted to get the sun pretty flat and I'm quite happy with how that turned out. I did that in the pouring rain last week actually, so that was fun, yeah. And then what I've done is I've aimed to get the engine sort of as far back as it can go, in order that the drive shafts are straight. I want to retain the equal size drive shafts that you use on the Honda. That's the whole point of, like, Honda spent a lot of time to do that for the equal length drive shaft, to try and reduce the torque steer of the car. So something that this car suffered with quite bad with the old engine. It was quite torquey. I think actually the old engine is probably a bit more torquey than this one. But yeah, I want to retain the Honda drive shaft. Well, equal length drive shafts will have to be custom to the Golf outer CVs, but yeah, I like to keep that. So trying to get the engine as central as possible. It's quite hard and not perfectly achieved it with this damper pulley, and look, the proximity I've got over here to the chassis leg. It's just not, I don't think it's too clever to be sticking that all the way over. I'll get problems with the Fiat belt if I do that. So I've avoided that. You have to notch whichever way you do it, you have to notch the passenger side chassis leg anyway for the gearbox. It's not a massive notch, it's nothing major. Not really too worried about that. So I've made these, I made them twice actually, so I did it out of 2.5mm without thinking first time I did it. But that's now 4.5mm steel, like a P bracket. And I plated the chassis leg here because it's not flat to start with, it's all sorts of shapes in it, and also I think it's only 1.5 or 2mm steel and didn't feel too confident about putting all that weight into it. So what I've done was I've plated it with some 3.5mm steel. So it's plated on top of that chassis leg, boxed in as well, and then it's welded to this piece here. So it's welded on all 4 edges, and I put some seam welds in here because I think there's probably quite a bit of movement in it anyway, just because it's an old car. Spot welds and stuff are probably pretty tired by now. Yeah, it's about getting sort of tacked in place. I'm quite happy with the placement of the engine. I'm not sure that I will move it much more from here, but it's only tacked just in case. The next job is to do the gearbox side engine mount, and I can sort of lose the dolly because I need to get under the car and do the rear torque mount after that. Yeah, join me when I've done that. Yeah, so this is one of them Chinese engine mounts that I'd got, and I was hoping to use that on the engine side. That's actually what it's for on the Integra or Civic or whatever it's from, because it's, you know, it's a big hefty bit of steel and it's got a bend in it as well, so it's be quite like strong. That I was a bit disappointed that I couldn't use it, but sort of had a bit of an epiphany last night that I can cut this off here however I want to, and I plan to use that on the gearbox side. Actually, it saved me a lot of fabricating, you know, because it probably took a good hour to get the P-shape brackets done, and this is already, you know, it's already done for me. So I think I'll do that. Yeah, nice little win there. That's what's left of the gearbox mount. So that's sit on the gearbox like that, and this was quite a good piece of steel, like 5mm, something serious, with the holes cut out. I think it's got some like lightweight holes in it as well. It's quite nice, bit of a mission to do that with a hole saw by yourself. So I thought I'd retain that. It was pretty difficult
bit of cutting to do. I mentioned that I wasn't particularly impressed with the welding on that, and after how easy a grinding disc went through it, I referred to that statement. That was the welding shit. Like, it shouldn't be that easy to get a grinding disc through. I only used half a grinding disc to get all of that off. Anyone that's done much MIG welding, I'll know that, if you're trying to put a grinding disc through a weld, you better have a good grinding disc. You're in it for a long haul, and in it for the long haul as well. Not really impressed. I'm kind of glad I'm chucking that anyway. So I also took the top piece off it as well. I just used that. I might use it as a template. I'm not quite decided whether I'm going to use that as the whole top mount for where the 3 bolts go through for the cotton reel mount. I guess we'll see. I need to get something sort of knocked up now. I've got a few cuts lined up on my steel. I think I'll crack on with that. So I thought I'd give you quite a good shot of the P brackets on the engine side. A little bit better shot of how I've boxed it in here. So they're pretty much ready to go now. I'm quite happy with those. And I cut another bit of steel here to go like sort of on the back here. Brace the two of them together. Now put that on with a G-clamp and give it a good weld up. Just give it a bit more rigidity. I'm almost considering putting it down the bottom as well, and I can weld along the bottom and just give it a load more weld strength on the weld for the mount. Obviously that's going to try and be tipping like that during use, so that's the plan. Quite happy with them, quite happy with the placement. Yeah, so it's not really obvious from this shot, but the chassis leg here is tapering in, and this is the problem that I have with the Fiat and the bottom pulley. So the bottom pulley is like here, and that's where it sits on a Mark 3 or a Mark 2 engine as well. So it just clashes, and especially the Fiat drive. I've just put that on. You can kind of see where the issues are going to be. I'll just show you the. So this is what I've done on the gearbox side. I've done the same thing. I plated it. I've done a bit of stitch welding on the back of it, and then I've got the little P bracket. I was able to reuse the Chinese engine mount, as I've said. So yeah, that's quite pleased with how that's come out. But I've just cut the back one. I cut it too short, so I'm gonna have to make myself a new one of those, which is a bit annoying, but that's c'est la vie, isn't it? So that's the gearbox notch that you can kind of see there. It's not too, I mean, it looks quite big, but it's really not too major. Like, it's probably only about 15 mil here in, if that. Shouldn't be too major to plate either. I think I might have to go back just a touch further, because the bolt hole in the gearbox like drop mount sort of is very close, and I think by the time I boxed it, I'll have to take some more out, but it won't be too much of a problem. So yeah, a couple of days later now. Just wanted to give a quick update because we've got quite a bit of progress done on it, so I'll take you over and show you what's happened. I also got back the inlet manifold from vapor blasting, and I've never had that done before, but I reckon that's come up an absolute treat. And really the engine block was a bit shit next to it, but there's not much I can do about the engine block, I don't think. But I think you'll all agree that has come up a treat, and especially with that new sort of red rocker cover. I think it looks brilliant. I had a quick look earlier under the bonnet, and the whole thing presented under the bonnet looks really, really good, so I'm quite happy with how that turned out. And I've got the water pump on now as well, so you can kind of see how that big pulley there is going to sort of have a similar issue to that, with the like the chassis leg along it coming forward. So I'm quite pleased with the position that I've got on that bottom pulley. I think I shall leave it in there. It also occurred to me the other night that trying to get the equal length drive shafts, you probably end up putting quite a lot of weight over to the driver's side rather than the passenger side, because obviously the engine's a huge amount heavier than the gearbox. So that black line that I've marked on the top on the masking tape, that's the centre line of the drive shafts. So that would need to be in the centre of the car for perfect equal length drive shafts. And you can imagine how much more weight is going to be on the engine side. I reckon the centre of mass of this is probably around there, like, and really somewhere between here and there is where the centre of the car is. So I think I probably got that just about right on the mass side. I also got back the gearbox linkage bracket. That's come out really nice, and I've got the VTEC solenoid on the back done. And that's the gearbox drop mount, or whatever you want to call it, that I made. So that's the recycled bottom part of it, and then the recycled top part, and also these are just new, whatever it is, 4.5mm, 4mm steel that I've used, and I welded them on inside and outside as well, both top and bottom. Going to give me a little bit of an issue on this bolt hole here, but I'll have to deal with it. Quite pleased how that came out. I think I might have found the limit of my welder though. That's like a 130 Clark turbo thing, and this is 4.5mm to 4.5mm steel, and it's kind of struggled a bit. I could have probably done with a little bit less wire speed here, or a little bit less travel speed. But I'm fairly happy with how it's come out. You can see the blue in coming up, so I'm fairly sure that'll be pretty strong. It'd have been nice to have done this as a C shape. How I think the other one is, or certainly the American ones are done like that as well. But I don't have the facility to be able to bend it. I mean, really, that would be a perfect, wouldn't it? You know, to have the bend. You get a lot of strength from the bend. I don't know if maybe a 90 might not be that strong. Maybe the welding's stronger, but yeah, quite pleased how that came out. And these are like those like lightweight holes that are in it. I might put something in here, like an X piece or something else, just to give it a bit more strength. What I'll do is when I hang the engine, I'll pay some close attention to it. But I mean, I think that is rock solid, really. You know, just need to have a good think. So I've done the same sort of job on the gearbox side, except I haven't got a joining plate in between. I'm not sure it needs it, to be honest. It's much shorter, and because the gearbox is a little bit further back down this longet, just because of the positioning of the mounts, it's not, I don't think there's that much like cantilevering off it. I made a bit of a jig for this one, because I said it got a bit hot when I tapped it and I wasn't really comfortable with it, so I took the engine mount out and just made a little jig up to keep the distance set. And yeah, it's turned out well. So I think tomorrow I'm gonna give this notch another tweak here, and I'm gonna hang the engine and gearbox with the crane and leave it there, ready to sort of get underneath and have a look at that rear torque mount, and then I'll put the front cross member on, and maybe the rad support, and look at the front torque mount as well. So that'll be the next video, looking at the torque mounts. So I hope you enjoyed this one. I'm hoping that the camera work's been a little bit better for you using the tripod. I think from my perspective it seems to have gone a bit better, so yeah, let us know what you think. I hope you enjoyed it. Cheers for watching.